There was a moment when Adrien Broner wasn't a meme. He was a movement. A 4-weight world champion by 26, undefeated, lightning fast, and louder than life. He called himself the problem, promised to be the next Mayweather, said he was about billions. And for a while, it looked real. The knockouts, the belts, the swag. But fame is a spotlight and a magnifying glass. And behind the chains, the parties, the viral moments, something darker was always brewing. He missed weight. He lost focus. Then came the arrests, the breakdowns, and the silence. The fighter who once danced under bright lights now disappears between courtrooms and failed comebacks. This is not just a boxing story. It's the unraveling of potential. The tragedy of a man who thought he'd made it before the fight ever really started. Before we start, subscribe the channel to support our growth. Thank you. Before the chains, the microphones, or the million-dollar knockouts, Adrien Broner was just a kid from Cincinnati trying not to disappear. Raised in a broken neighborhood, surrounded by addiction and violence, Broner's childhood wasn't built on dreams. It was built on defense. His mother worked long hours. His father was around, but the streets were louder. Survival wasn't about planning your future. It was about making it through the day. But even as a child, Adrien had something most kids didn't: electricity. He talked fast, moved faster, and refused to back down from anything or anyone. That energy made him dangerous in school and eventually got him expelled more than once. But in the gym, it made him a phenom. He started boxing at 6. By 9, his name was already circulating in Cincinnati's fight circles. He wasn't just fast, he was different. Slick defense, explosive counters, and a natural feel for movement. Coaches couldn't believe how sharp he was. Some said he was the best young talent they'd ever seen. Others said he was too cocky, too undisciplined. Both were right. His amateur career exploded. Over 300 fights and more than 100 knockouts. But the knockouts weren't the only thing that made noise. Even in youth tournaments, Broner was talking trash, dancing, showboating. He wasn't just trying to win, he was trying to be seen. The showman was already being born. But while his hands made headlines, his behavior raised alarms. He'd disappear from camp for days, skip school, start fights, party too much, lose focus. Coaches warned he was moving too fast, that the same attitude fueling his greatness might one day destroy it. But nobody could slow him down, not even his own team. At just 18 years old, Broner turned pro. No Olympic medal, no grand debut, just a name and a mouth people couldn't ignore. He stormed through his first 10 opponents, stopping most of them in the early rounds. He was fast, accurate, and confident beyond belief. The swagger wasn't an act, it was armor. By 2011, Broner had captured his first world title at 130 pounds. In the post-fight interview, he made it clear he wasn't just chasing belts, he was chasing the throne. "I'm a can man," he said. "Anybody can get it. African, American, Mexican." It was vintage Broner, clever, reckless, and viral. But what nobody realized at the time was that this line, this whole attitude, was more than a catchphrase. It was a glimpse of the problem that was growing underneath. Because Adrien Broner wasn't just fighting opponents, he was fighting a version of himself that already believed he was great. As Adrien Broner racked up wins, comparisons to Floyd Mayweather came fast and furious. Both were undefeated. Both were flashy. Both came from tough upbringings and used defense as a weapon. But Broner didn't just look like Floyd, he acted like Floyd. He copied the shoulder roll, the slow-motion counters, the custom trunks. He even started walking out with rappers. The boxing world had seen imitators before, but never one this talented. At just 23 years old, Broner was a 2-weight world champion. He was undefeated, charming, dangerous, and headline-ready. And for a while, it all worked. He began racking up dominant performances. Vicente Escobedo, Antonio DeMarco, Gavin Reese. Each fight added to the myth. The problem wasn't just beating opponents, he was humiliating them. In one bout, he stopped mid-round to brush his hair, then kept punching. The boxing world started calling him the future. He wasn't just a fighter, he was a star in the making. HBO gave him his own mini-doc series. Promoters rolled out the red carpet. Floyd Mayweather even brought him into the money team, temporarily. Broner's nickname, The Problem, was now gospel. His speed was elite. His power was shocking for his size. He was a highlight machine with charisma to match. People were calling him the next pay-per-view king, the heir to the throne. But that's when the mask started to slip. While his hands were perfect in the ring, his decisions outside it were anything but. The partying increased. He was seen with stacks of cash, pouring liquor on strippers, flashing guns fans in hotel rooms. His Instagram became a live feed of chaos. And slowly, you could see it. He stopped training the same. Weight became a constant issue. He began missing limits or pulling out of camps. He wasn't evolving. He wasn't sharpening his tools. He was just relying on talent, the same talent that had carried him through hundreds of fights. But now, the stakes were different. In 2013, Broner jumped up 2 weight classes to fight Paulie Malignaggi at 147. The promotion was pure theater. Paulie called him a clown. Broner stole Paulie's ex-girlfriend for the cameras. The fight was close, but Broner won by split decision. He was now a 3-weight world champion, but the whispers were getting louder. He's not focused. He's cutting corners. He's becoming a parody of himself. Still, Broner leaned in. He launched his brand, A B, about billions, started rapping, bought more cars, showed up to pressers drunk. Instead of being Mayweather 2.0, he started to look like a warning sign for everything wrong with fame in boxing. But Adrien didn't slow down. He had one more leap in mind, one more opponent that would silence the critics. His name? Marcos Maidana. And the fight that followed would mark the beginning of everything crashing down. By the time Adrien Broner faced Marcos Maidana in December 2013, the AB brand was in full effect. No longer just a boxer, Broner had become a walking show. He rapped on his own walkouts, did interviews with sunglasses on indoors, and filmed skits of himself flushing money down toilets. He wasn't just building a brand, he was becoming one. But the problem with playing a character is that eventually the lines blur. And by the Maidana fight, Broner wasn't preparing like a champion. He was preparing like a celebrity. The opening bell rang and the curtain fell. From the first round, Maidana's pressure was relentless. He marched forward like a wrecking ball, landing heavy hooks and body shots that immediately erased the smirk from Broner's face. In the second round, Maidana dropped him. The crowd exploded. Broner got up, tried to dance, smile, recover the character, but it was gone. Maidana beat him from corner to corner. Adrien had never been in a war like this. He wasn't used to someone walking through his shots. He wasn't used to not being the faster man. Maidana made it ugly, and Broner didn't have an answer. In the 8th round, he went down again. This time it looked bad. The swagger was gone. The balance was gone. The myth gone too. Broner survived to the final bell, but he didn't win. The judges gave it to Maidana by unanimous decision. And for the first time in his career, Adrien Broner had a loss on his record. What happened next was even more revealing. He didn't do interviews. He didn't address fans. He literally ran out of the ring. A fighter who'd once called himself the future of boxing had just been shattered on live TV. And now he had to face the aftermath. And it came hard. Memes flooded the internet. Videos of him getting punched in slow motion. Parodies of his post-fight speech. One meme read, "About billions of excuses." Broner became a joke overnight. But instead of using the loss as a lesson, he doubled down on the act. He kept partying, kept skipping training, kept chasing headlines, as if pretending it didn't happen would somehow erase it. But deep down, something had changed. The kid who once trained like a man possessed was now coasting on a name. And in boxing, names fade fast. The Marcos Maidana fight wasn't just a loss. It was the beginning of a long public unraveling, a collision between reality and a persona that couldn't survive pressure. For the first time, Adrien Broner had been exposed on the global stage. The blueprint was now public. Apply pressure, stay composed, don't fall for the antics. But instead of correcting course, Broner went louder. He brushed off the loss as a fluke, claimed he wasn't focused, said he'd be back stronger, but nothing changed. His next few fights were forgettable, slow-paced, underwhelming decisions against Emmanuel Taylor, Carlos Molina, and John Molina Jr. He looked disconnected, often showboating instead of pressing the gas. What once felt like swagger now looked like insecurity. Outside the ring, the chaos only grew. In 2014, Broner was arrested for DUI. The footage from the police dash cam went viral. He slurred his words, bragged about being rich, laughed through the booking process. For fans who once believed in him, it was heartbreaking. He wasn't just losing fights, he was losing control. In the ring, the pattern continued. Close fights, weight problems, missed opportunities. In 2015, he won a title at 140 pounds, but immediately lost it on the scale before even stepping in the ring. Another chance, another self-inflicted wound. Then came the Sean Porter Porter fight. Porter was disciplined, humble, and calculated. Everything Broner wasn't. Leading up to the fight, Broner mocked him relentlessly, called him boring, promised an early knockout. But when the bell rang, it was Broner who looked lost. Porter dominated nearly every round, bullying him with pressure and volume. In the final round, Broner scored a knockdown, his only real moment, and then raised his hand like he'd won. But the judges didn't need long. Porter, by clear decision. That moment, raising his hand after getting outworked, captured everything wrong with Broner's mindset. He wasn't adjusting. He wasn't improving. He was just surviving, banking on moments to bail him out rather than building performances. And yet, promoters still booked him. Why? Because people still watched. Adrien Broner was now a walking contradiction, a boxer who hadn't improved in years and still headlined shows. He became boxing's most tragic kind of star, the kind people tune in for, not to witness greatness, but to watch the flame flicker out. And slowly, Adrien Broner, the fighter, faded. But the character kept growing. The outbursts, the arrests, the viral clips. And through it all, Broner still said the same thing. I'm about billions, but his record said otherwise. By the time 2016 rolled around, Adrien Broner was no longer the future. He was a warning, a name with baggage, a fighter you booked when you needed noise, not results. But Broner didn't seem to care. Or maybe he just didn't know how to stop. Between fights, his life unraveled on social media. He posted videos of himself drunk, passed out in strip clubs, threatening to quit boxing, then coming back days later saying he was on a mission. The mission was unclear, but the pattern wasn't. He'd show up bloated to camp, cut weight at the last minute, fight flat, then promise change, over and over again. In 2016, Broner fought Ashley Theophane, a soft touch meant to get him back on track. He won, barely, but the headlines weren't about the performance. They were about the warrant for his arrest, issued the same week for an alleged assault in Cincinnati. Later that year, Broner posted a series of cryptic Instagram stories talking about suicide, showing a gun, saying goodbye to his kids. The internet panicked. Friends and fans pleaded with him to get help. He brushed it off the next day. I was just venting. In 2017, he faced rising star Mikey Garcia. This was the crossroads. Win, and he's back in title contention. Lose, and the slide continues. Broner trained harder, looked sharper. But when the bell rang, it was the same story. Low output, hesitation, style over substance. Garcia dominated him. Afterward, Broner gave another bizarre speech. Y'all still gonna love me, regardless. Maybe, but boxing wouldn't. That loss cemented his new identity, gatekeeper. A fighter used to test others. And yet, the delusion lingered. He was asked in a post-fight interview, "Do you think you're still elite?" Broner stared straight into the camera. "I'm still the can man. Anybody can get it." But that wasn't true anymore. The only thing consistent now was the inconsistency. His team changed constantly. His friends were enablers. His lifestyle was draining his talent. He launched rap tracks no one listened to, businesses that never took off, promotions that didn't promote anything. Still, the world watched, because Broner, for all his chaos, was compelling. A walking storm. You never knew what would happen next. But that kind of attention has a cost. And it came due in 2019. Broner was 29 and somehow already a veteran, with a reputation in shambles. Still, the hype was real. Broner promised redemption, said he was training hard, said he'd shock the world. Fight night came, and what happened wasn't shocking. It was sad. Broner threw fewer than 300 punches over 12 rounds. Pacquiao outlanded him easily, controlling every moment. Broner spent most of the night clinching, circling, surviving. No urgency, no fire. But the real moment came after the fight. In the post-fight interview, Broner said, with a straight face, "I beat him." The crowd booed. It started pitying him. Over the next 12 months, Broner's life spiraled further. More arrests, court appearances. He was sued for failing to pay settlements. A judge demanded proof of his income. He claimed he had no money. Days later, he posted videos throwing stacks of cash on Instagram. The judge wasn't amused. Broner was held in contempt of court. Then came the rehab stint, a quiet check-in at a private facility. Rumors of substance abuse, depression, anxiety. For a moment, it looked like he was finally doing the one thing he'd never done, admit he needed help. But the moment didn't last. He left rehab, said he was all good, then went radio silent. For the first time in his career, Adrien Broner wasn't headlining. He wasn't training. He wasn't even talking. Fans stopped asking when he'd fight again. Promoters stopped calling. Even his most loyal supporters were unsure if he'd ever come back, because for all the hype, all the noise, all the potential. Adrien Broner had hit rock bottom. And worse, he still didn't know it. In boxing, there's something sacred about a final shot. The moment when legacy meets opportunity. When an aging star faces a legend, hoping to rewrite a story already scarred. For Adrien Broner, that shot came on January 19, 2019, inside the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. Manny Pacquiao, a global icon, a world champion, a politician, a living myth, stood across from him. At 40 years old, many believed Pacquiao was ripe for the taking. Slower, older, human. Broner believed it too. "I'm about to beat this old man's ass," he told the media, "and then I'm going back to the hood rich." The press conference went viral. Broner joked, screamed, and promised fireworks. To his followers, it felt like vintage AB. The problem was back. But beneath the bravado, everything was fragile. His last few performances were flat. His training camps were inconsistent. His inner circle was more entourage than coaching staff. And privately, Broner admitted to friends he didn't love the game anymore. Still, he showed up. He walked out with his crew, smiled at the cameras, and danced like it was 2013 again. But inside the ring, it wasn't. From the opening round, Pacquiao made it clear. This wasn't a nostalgia fight. He attacked with purpose, landing clean combinations, forcing Broner onto the back foot. Broner, tentative and stiff, barely threw punches. He landed a few counters, but never took control. His usual rhythm was gone. No timing, no fire. Round after round, Pacquiao kept pressing. By round 7, Broner looked overwhelmed. By round 10, he looked like he was just trying to survive. But then, the moment everyone remembers. After the final bell, after 12 clearly one-sided rounds, Broner walked to the mic with confidence and delivered a line that would define the delusion. "I beat him." The crowd erupted in disbelief. Even the interviewer, Jim Gray, looked stunned. "You threw 50 punches around. You landed nothing," Gray said. "You don't think the judges got it right?" Broner doubled down. "I beat him. Y'all know I beat him." It wasn't bravado anymore. It was denial. And for many fans, that was it. The final straw. The moment they realized Broner wasn't chasing greatness, he was chasing relevance. After the Pacquiao loss, Broner didn't disappear all at once. He drifted, slowly, painfully, from the center of boxing to its blurred edges. For 2 years, he didn't fight. Rumors of comebacks popped up every few months, but nothing materialized. He'd post a training video, then vanish. Post about a return, then pull out. Behind the scenes, there was a storm. In 2020, Broner's weight ballooned past 180 pounds. The fighter who once prided himself on speed and slickness now looked bloated, tired, and disconnected. Paparazzi caught him stumbling out of clubs, slurring his speech, or sitting alone in casinos. And with every sighting, the legend faded further. He wasn't just losing fights anymore, he was losing identity. In interviews, when asked what he wanted from boxing, Broner gave vague answers. "Just one more run. I'm back focused. This time is different." But the performances never came. Then, in 2021, he fought again. A tune-up against Giovanni Santiago. It was meant to be a soft return, a reintroduction, but Broner looked sluggish. His timing was off. He won by controversial decision, a gift many believed he didn't earn. The old reflexes weren't there, but the old habits were. After the fight, Broner partied, posted more videos, talked big again, but no momentum followed. He turned down fights, missed weight, burned bridges with promoters, and worst of all, started blaming the sport itself. "The game don't love me," he said in a live stream. "I gave y'all everything." But boxing is a brutal mirror. It doesn't reflect potential, it reflects effort, and Broner wasn't putting it in anymore. He signed with BLK Prime in 2023, a new promotion that promised him millions, but his comeback fight was postponed, then canceled, then rescheduled, and canceled again. And with every delay, every no-show, fans stopped caring. Once, Adrien Broner was must-see TV. Now, he was a headline you skip. Worse than being hated, was being forgotten. Adrien Broner will retire one day with multiple world titles, millions earned, and a resume full of names. On paper, it looks impressive, but legacy isn't written on paper. It's carved into memory. And the truth is, Broner didn't leave a legacy. He left a lesson. He was never short on talent, not for a single second. In his prime, he had elite speed, reflexes, footwork, timing. He could have built a Hall of Fame career, but he wanted fame more than greatness, attention more than discipline. That choice came with a cost. He didn't mentor younger fighters. He didn't evolve his style. He didn't build a gym, start a movement, or create a blueprint for the next generation. He gave nothing back. Instead, he gave excuses. Even today, fans debate him online. Some say he was always overrated, a glorified gatekeeper. Others argue he had more natural ability than most champions ever see. Both may be right, because Adrien Broner was a star, but never a legend. He walked into the sport thinking he'd already made it. He wore the crown before earning the kingdom, and when things got hard, he fell back on a character instead of digging deeper as a fighter. He still pops up occasionally, courtside, in the corner of another fighter, dropping music videos no one plays. But the fire is gone. The fighter is gone. What's left is a man who lived the highs and ran from the lows. And the tragedy? He could have been special.